So a couple nights ago, I hopped on For Honor to play with some of you guys, as For Honor is much more fun with friends, and realized that Season 9 has finally come to an end, and yet again, the Vikings won the season. Now, I usually don't care about the faction war, but now that I'm having a ton of fun playing For Honor again, I actually paid attention to it, as you're kind of forced to see it every time you load your game up, and realized that the Vikings have won a majority of the rounds every season, despite having what I think is the smallest faction. But since UB hasn't given us any data on the faction war or faction player counts or anything, the only things I have to go by are stats from the end of Season 4, and although that was a year ago, I'd assume that people still join factions at the same rate, and then these faction approximations from the last Black Prior event. Now, this is all just speculation, so if I'm way off the mark, definitely call me out on it, but maybe the Vikings win so often because of the way the faction war works. Maybe the players that place war assets and care about the rewards at the end of the season play for the Vikings, or maybe it's the little multiplier that the Viking players get for being the smallest faction. There's a chance that there are just more active Vikings than any other faction, regardless of faction size, and with the multiplier, they have a bit of an advantage. If this is the case, I think that the multiplier should only take into account active players or players who play at least once a week, because let's be honest, we know that a ton of players have stopped playing For Honor by now and have no impact on the faction war other than just being another number. I think the faction war is something that UB wanted to be popular and wanted people to be into, as they sort of pushed it for a while early on, but I honestly feel like if they wanted people to really care about it, they'd have to give out some great rewards. Large rewards for winning and rewards for deploying war assets. Say your faction awards you for your hard work with like 500 steel for manually deploying 50 times or something. This would also help duelists and brawlers out with their rewards. Maybe give rewards for sticking with a single faction, so you won't just jump ship to the winning faction. Or if UB gave the winning faction a special effect, it doesn't have to be anything special, maybe just a different color for an existing effect, so that UB can still sell the new ones. I do think that there should be some incentives for players that do participate and want to try and win, not only because I think it would get people to actually look at the map and try to take some zones manually, it would give players at least something, as I know some people don't like having their efforts wasted with having to rely on others and hope that they play the game as well. They could even make capturing points a bit more interesting by having faction battles once a week where you're forced to play a hero from the faction you're in. So matches would be, say, Samurai versus Vikings or Knights versus Vikings or something like that in the events playlist. Of course, since events are basically ignored a few hours after they release, like poor ice brawlers, I think that they should probably do double steel gain or double XP for those matches, since it would only be one day a week, and I think that would get people playing that over Dominion for at least a day. You could make it a bit more fun by putting minions on each point while making the breaking score say like 1200, and taking away feats like body count so that fights on points don't last forever with the extra minions. And then say if your faction does win the battle, the winning faction gets an XP bonus of 10% each game for that week. UB has made a few adjustments to the faction war, but I feel like it could be much more engaging. I think rewards are important and should be more exciting. Ornaments aren't really something that a lot of people care for, but effects, emotes, or a cool special execution would probably get more people invested. Create faction events with extra steel and XP once a week or something that are held on specific points in the map. Just little things that will get players more involved and give them something else to do rather than just grind reps, as right now the war doesn't feel like all too much, and I feel that it could. I know that we do have some events currently, but I'm not sure how many people actively participate in them, as they probably either don't want to play other modes like ranked or something and would rather continue playing their mode of choice, Or maybe people don't play events because they feel like their points don't matter in the end, which is honestly why I think that incentivizing players to play by rewarding them for their personal performance is the way to go. Now, I'm not really sure what the Samurai are doing. I'm sure a majority of Samurai players just don't care, and we usually end up in third place except for a few seasons ago. But the Knights do have a few shots to win, but sometimes I feel like they just meme themselves out of the victory with the volcano. I mean, look at the volcano right now. The Knights have a crazy amount of troops on it. I honestly thought that they'd win it in the season that Vortiger released. Anyways, I am curious on our effect on the faction war. I know some factions have discords to coordinate attacks on territories, but it's something I've never really paid attention to, so I want to see the effects of a coordinated attack. So if you are a Samurai hero and you're playing for Honor today, put a war banner on this point right here, and let's see if we can take it. If you're not a Samurai, do what you will with that information. Anyways, that's all I've got for this video. I hardly ever talk about the faction war because I really don't ever think about it and only ever really notice it after the season is over and we get our rewards. Plus Yubi hasn't mentioned it for a while, so it's just slipped my mind. I also wonder when Yubi will ever do anything about the Wu Lin regarding the faction war. To stick them in there, they'd have to redesign the whole map or somehow include them as some sort of disruptive presence. But there are some people that really like the Wu Lin and would like to have an actual faction, so I'm not really sure what's going to happen with them. It wouldn't really surprise me if they don't make an appearance at all. Anyways, I do want to hear what you guys think, so talk to me down in the comments about anything we talked about in this video, and tell me how you feel about the faction war and what you would do to improve it, or tell me if you just don't care about it at all. And as always, if you agreed with me or just liked the video, feel free to leave a like and sub if you're new, and I will talk to you guys in the next video.